What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and today, we actually did get a little bit of New York Giants breaking news in the last hour or so. So we're going to go ahead and dive into that first and foremost and discuss the moves that the Giants just made to sign Abdul Carter to his rookie contract and additionally to restructure Brian Burns' contract to free up some money so that they could sign Abdul Carter to his rookie contract. Now, if you've been keeping along with the live streams, following along with the channel, we've hinted that this was going to happen sooner rather than later many times in our recent discussions because the Giants didn't have any cap space. They had $1.1 million in total cap space before this move, and they had negative $9 million in effective cap space. So I've been saying on the channel, expect some cuts, expect some restructures in the coming days as we lead into OTAs next week. And of course, we finally got that here with Brian Burns. Now, according to Field Yates of ESPN, the New York Giants restructured Burns' contract to create over $10 million in cap space. They did this in order to sign Abdul Carter to his rookie contract, which he did today. So officially, welcome to the New York Giants, number 3 overall pick out of Penn State, the pass rusher, Abdul Carter. Very exciting stuff. So Abdul Carter is officially a New York Giant, which I think we are all happy about. But hey, we got a lot to discuss in today's show. I've got plenty of fun things planned for you guys. Definitely looking forward to talking about the main topic of discussion, which is going to be Jaxson Dart and how the Giants, I feel as though they've built the perfect environment for Jaxson Dart to sit, grow, learn, develop, and thrive as their franchise quarterback. So that's going to be the main topic of discussion. But of course, as you all know, we're going to interact with all of you in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and have a conversation, look through the comments, and respond to all of you. Like Lo-Fi Lotus, who was first. Woohoo, he got one. Let's go, Lo-Fi. Like Colton being in here. What's going on? How are we doing today? Doing great, man. Rocco saying, let's go. Big Moo saying, yo. Aren't you supposed to be saying moo, Mr. Big Moo? Yeah, so we got plenty to discuss. It's going to be fun. And I'm going to get to your questions in the comment as well in just a second. But I feel that it is fitting to retitle this live stream. So Giants restructure Brian Burns, sign Abdul Carter, and perfect environment to develop Jaxson Dart. Now we got 3 topics to discuss today. Let's go ahead and get into it. I see a couple more of you filtering in. I see you, Shaq. I see you, Candyman. I see you, Sinister Soup. What's up, everybody? All right. Having trouble getting this thing going live on Twitter/X. Hopefully it goes ahead and gets live for me momentarily, but it doesn't look like it's going to. Shaq is liking Jaxson Dart. Listen, we're going to be talking a lot about Jaxson Dart soon enough. Respect the G-men. All I do is respect the G-men. All right, let me go ahead and pull up over the cap, and we're going to have a conversation about the Giants cap space here and talk about why this was such a necessary move for them to make. So reflected here on over the cap, you'll see that the New York Giants still are tight on salary cap space. I do not think that the Giants' move of restructuring Brian Burns and signing Abdul Carter is already reflected. Actually, let's find out. Abdul Carter is on there. But is that the accurate cap number? No, it's not. That's a placeholder. So they have not factored it in just yet. But if they do, while we're live, we'll go ahead and react to this. But the Giants could have freed up over $16 million in cap space. According to the report, they only freed up a little bit over $10 million in cap space, meaning that they didn't fully max out the restructuring of Brian Burns' deal. So what that means is they probably will restructure him again later on this summer. With contracts, you can restructure them several times. You can do it more than once. You can do it 3 times, however many times you want, really. But there is a max, and the Giants didn't max this out. So they're freeing up about $10 million with this move. Expect them to make more moves. But here's the interesting thing. They went ahead and freed up Brian Burns or restructured Brian Burns to free up some money. I'm going to be curious to see if they ever end up restructuring Andrew Thomas. You know, as we discussed recently, Andrew Thomas is under pressure to perform this year. He's had a lot of injuries ever since he signed that contract 2 off seasons ago, and he hasn't played a whole lot since then. So are the Giants going to be hesitant to restructure his deal? In fact, I think they will be. I think it's something that they're going to avoid doing because when you restructure a contract, what you do is you take the guaranteed money this year and you place it into the subsequent years evenly spread out. So if the Giants were to restructure Andrew Thomas's deal, let's say, some of the money that they guarantee and owe him this year, they will now have to pay in the future. And for a player who's been injured and has been unreliable, you probably don't want to elevate how much you're paying them in the future, because let's say he gets injured again this season, knock on wood, God forbid, we might be talking about potentially moving on from Andrew Thomas next offseason. So that's why Brian Burns, being a player who doesn't have the same poor injury history, who played well last year and who is under contract for a longer period of time and at a better price point probably, obviously he gets paid more, but relative to the edge rusher market, Burns was the obvious one that they should restructure first and foremost. MJ saying, I have to watch Giant stuff today because the Knicks made me sick last night. Guys, let me tell you this. That was an absolute atrocity. I don't even know what to say. That was, simply put, embarrassing for the Knicks to collapse the way that they did. I'm a pretty casual NBA fan. I'm not like a huge, I miss Knicks games. I don't watch most of the games. In fact, I've barely watched any of the playoffs, just being completely upfront about it. But I still am a Knicks fan. I am still rooting for them. And I did flip on the channel in the fourth quarter and witness what happened last night. And I could not believe my eyes. That was embarrassing with a capital EMBARASSING. That was awful. Hopefully I spelled that right off the top of my head. But nevertheless, this is a Giants show. Let's not work you guys up with the pain of the New York Knicks, because that was bad enough as it is. We don't want to dwell on that too much longer. All I got to say is they better play a full 4 quarters on tomorrow night. This is funny. Yep, they did blow it. Tight showdown. Somebody asked, okay, Adler, thank you for the question, asking, did we sign all of the rookies? We did not. We signed Abdul Carter. I know that we have signed Marcus Bowe. I'm not sure if we've signed Cam Scatterbo yet, and we definitely haven't signed Jaxson Dart yet. All of these signings will probably get done next week when the whole team is in the building for not rookie minicamp, but for OTAs. They'll probably get most of those signings, if not all of them, done next week. If they don't, there's a chance that it does linger into July, which is, when they all meet for training camp and get back in the building. But more likely than not, they'll probably get these rookie contracts done next week. They just have to do a couple of housekeeping things. Got to free up some more cap space, make some moves that way. Wyatt, you're an absolute savage. I'm going to pull up this chat and not the one that you sent out before it. I kind of like that, though. But yeah, essentially, like I said, the main topic of conversation that I wanted to discuss today, we had to talk about the Burns and Carter thing because that was basically breaking news for the Giants. And let me say, thankfully, that there is some. We haven't had real Giants news to talk about in a minute. We have been reaching and pulling for topics, but I do have one today that I think is pretty interesting, and that I think you guys are going to be excited about. I want to talk about why I think this is the perfect environment for a rookie quarterback to grow in for Jaxson Dart. Now, if you didn't see, there was an article recently published by Pro Football Focus, and it was reposted by Empire Sports Media. It was also reposted by Giants.com. A few outlets have picked it up. But Pro Football Focus essentially wrote a piece ranking all of the rookie quarterback situations across the NFL by which is the most favorable and nurturing for the quarterback that's in it. And the New York Giants came in at number 1 as the best rookie quarterback environment. And some of the reasons that they cited are, of course, a top wide receiver, Malik Nabers, a head coach with a history of developing quarterbacks in Brian Dable, of course, with Josh Allen, and also on top of that, the quarterbacks that are already present on the New York Giants roster. Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson make it so that there's no rush to get in the starting lineup for Jaxson Dart, and I think that's important. But as you see on the graphic here, we've got Dart, we've got Dable, but there's a third guy who wasn't mentioned in that Pro Football Focus article, but who I want to mention, and that's Eli Manning. I don't know how much mentorship one person can possibly handle or desire. But what I do know is that Jaxson Dart has all of the mentorship that he ever could desire handed and afforded to him here with the New York Giants. Now, I'm not just talking about Jameis Winston being a great backup quarterback who's also a good mentor and locker room guy. I'm not talking about a starting quality quarterback in Russell Wilson, who's also going to be a good example and role model for Jaxson Dart. I'm also talking about his mentor for the last several years, New York Giants legend, 2-time Super Bowl champion, future Hall of Famer, Eli Manning. Jaxson Dart had some quotes yesterday that I found in an interview that he did with Sports Illustrated during the NFL Rookie Premiere. And I figured I'd read some of them out because I thought they were really exciting. He talked about his relationship with Eli Manning. And first and foremost, he started out by saying, Eli has been a huge role model of mine even before I got to Ole Miss, Dart said. Being able to watch him beat Tom Brady twice, that was incredible. And go watch the video if you want to find it. Just search Jaxson Dart Sports Illustrated on YouTube. You'll find him. And when he does this interview, it's hilarious. He goes, watching him beat Tom was incredible twice. He like interjects the twice. And I was like, yeah, you're a Giant, all right. You're a Giant, because that's exactly how I would have done it. Then I go to Ole Miss, and not only him, but the whole Manning family was great to me. He also said specifically, Eli was just a great asset. Anytime I had a question, I could reach out to him, and I knew he was going to be there for me. Then carrying that to now with the Giants. He went on to mention how Manning is around the facility a ton, how he lives up the street, and how he made it clear to continue to use him as an asset and as a resource during his development with the Giants. Quote, we've built such a genuine connection, and at the same time, he's done it. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's also around the facility all the time, so it's great to have him and to continue to grow this relationship that we have, end quote. So some really exciting stuff there. Jaxson Dart speaking about his relationship and the genuine connection that he's developed with franchise legend Eli Manning. And I think this is different from, I think a lot of Giants fans are going to read this and say, well, the last time the Giants tried to bring in a quarterback with a connection to Eli, it was Daniel Jones. How did that go? And I understand why you might have that initial line of thinking. But I also think it's important to realize that the similarities between Dart and Manning start and end with the college football program that they played in, right? Because they don't play anything alike. They have completely different strengths, completely different weaknesses, completely different mobility. And if you want to take this comparison a step further and compare Dart to Daniel Jones, as Sinister Soup is saying, they are completely different. One of them has the ability to engage with everyone in the room and be very talkative and be very personable. Meanwhile, Daniel Jones didn't really strive with that. So I think that it's really unfair to look at this Eli Dart connection and compare it to the Eli Jones connection, which essentially was a connection of former coaches that they shared. They didn't have the same relationship that Dart and Manning had and do currently have. So I just think it's really cool. He's got all this mentorship in front of him with Winston and Wilson, as we mentioned. He's got good coaching in Brian Dable, but he also has his mentor from the last few years being Eli Manning, who he's connected to through college and now is hopefully following in his footsteps during his time here with the New York Giants. It's really exciting stuff, and I think it's an underrated talking point that not enough people have mentioned when we are discussing the development of Jaxson Dart. We're always talking about the environment that he's in, the coaches around him, the players around him, but have we talked about the guy who's in the building and has been by his side for the last several years? Eli Manning doesn't really get brought up a whole lot, but we saw the clips from rookie minicamp. Eli was there. He was shaking hands with Dart. He was breaking down the huddle with the veterans, with the rookies. He's been mentoring not only the players who are coming into the Giants this year as rookies, but also all of the new guys who signed in free agency and all of the previous guys who've been here for several years. Eli has stayed thoroughly involved with the Giants organization, which I appreciate and I admire, and I think is a really good thing for Jaxson Dart and his development. So I wanted to bring up that talking point and discuss that because, again, I think it's a talking point that we haven't really discussed enough, and it's kind of gone under the radar. So what are your guys' thoughts about that? The fact that, Eli Manning is not only a man who did a lot for the franchise in the past, but he's continuing to do a lot, and he might play a pretty crucial role continuing to help Jaxson Dart as he makes his transition from Mississippi to the Big Apple. SPP Williams saying, what's up from London? Tried to chat on Bleacher Report, but the chat didn't work. Love that Dart has Russ, the film nerd, and Jameis, who Dart said he wanted as a mentor. Yeah, he's got the greatest quarterback duo of mentorship in the locker room with him. I absolutely love it. And as for the Bleacher Report thing, guys, if you didn't know, I do live streams on the Bleacher Report app every Wednesday and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you tune in tomorrow night. However, as SPP said, there are a lot of technical difficulties with the Bleacher Report app right now. I'm going to reach out to them tomorrow ahead of the stream because you're not the first person to report that you can't chat with me during those live streams, SPP Williams. So I'm going to try my best to figure out what I can do to fix that. But hey, I'm very happy that you're in here and able to chat with me now. We got Won't Stop Dream Team ENT saying, my first live man, let's go. Shout out to you. Thank you for tuning in. I try and do these live streams as close to daily as I can. Just jump in here, answer your questions, talk New York Giants, and grow this community. So happy to see you in here for the first time, and hope to see you in here plenty more times moving forward. So who do you think we're looking to sign after the restructure of Burns? Joseph asks. We are looking to sign our rookie draft class. We're not bringing in any newcomers, okay? This was a move purely made because the Giants were out of cap space. As I mentioned, that $9 million in effective cap space that they were in debt with, they had a negative $9 million in effective cap space. They needed to clear up space to get back to the zero. Get back into the positive, essentially. And so this move gets them back into the positive, and they now can sign their rookie draft class. Let's see, what other good questions do we have here? Andrew Thomas's foot injury is definitely very concerning. Does the Manning-Dart relationship help Manning's case in the ownership bid? I think it might. SPP is right. Eli does have an office in the building. Eli should play a role, and I agree. But does it help his case in the ownership bid? I think that it could. There's a couple ways to look at it. So the ownership stake that the Giants made available to the public was a non-controlling stake. It was simply a financial investment. However, we all know that once you're on an ownership board, if you've got something to say, somebody in that building is probably going to listen. But also, he's Eli Manning, so that word that he has to share carries a little bit more weight. And perhaps if Eli wants to demonstrate to them, hey, I'm a great owner because look at how I'm so involved with the organization. I really care about it. And my ownership stake, while it is a non-controlling stake, I'm going to do everything that I can to boost shareholder value. He's probably going to present that to them, and that probably will help his case in getting the ownership bid, actually. So maybe not. I think it's really just going to come down to money again because it is a non-controlling ownership stake. But I wouldn't discount it being at least somewhat helpful. I see Colton and I see SPP asking for some scatterbooms. I don't think I'm going to give you the biggest scataboo ever. I'm going to reserve that for during the season when Scataboo scores his first touchdown. But I'll give you guys a good scataboo right now. You ready? Scataboo! There you go. Rashad saying, FSG family, let's go. Let's eat, my friends. Are there any more free agents the Giants plan to sign this summer? Trevor asks. Maybe Gabe Davis, who we've talked about. That is the wide receiver who was formerly with the Buffalo Bills, was with the Jacksonville Jaguars last season, was cut after this season. I think he failed a physical months ago, had some sort of an injury. The Giants did bring him in for a free agent visit a couple weeks ago. They haven't done anything else with him since then. Just had that visit and presumably remained in touch, but they don't have money to sign him right now. And also, I don't think that they should, because I think they should give Jalen Hyatt a chance to prove himself in training camp before they bring somebody in. So essentially, the short answer is no, they don't have anybody else that they plan to sign. But the long answer is you got to wait and see, because as injuries arise during training camp, let's say somebody does go down with a devastating injury or somebody's a little bit banged up and they're not going to be ready for week one. As those things unfold, the Giants will need to make moves and coordinate to bring in backup plans. So nothing is planned right now, but as things unfold, they will definitely make some sort of moves in the future. Adler, we are not cutting Graham Gano right now because we do not have his replacement on the roster. The Giants, I think what they're going to do is hold on to Gano, bring in another kicker or two that can compete with him during training camp and let the best man win. Also, because if you look at over the cap, if they release Graham Gano right now, they won't save as much cap space as they would if they release him in 2 weeks from now, or not even 2 weeks. There's the pre-June 1st cut, and there's the post-June 1st cut. The Giants save an extra $1.5 million if they cut Graham Gano post-June 1st. So cutting him now would be pointless and actually detrimental because they'll be leaving a lot of money on the table. So post-June 1st, they can think about cutting him. Adler saying, what about Jude? Jude McAdam will definitely compete. I think he's on the Giants practice squad, so he's definitely going to be in the mix for the kicker job. But I do expect the Giants to also bring in a veteran or two to compete as well. This is interesting, SPP. I did not see this. I'm definitely gonna have to do some digging in this. If Daniel Jones tried the VR software, I hadn't heard of that, but that's actually kind of interesting. Hmm. Yeah, I know Jaden Daniels. That was a big talking point that really helped him develop quickly. I would really like to see the Giants use that for Jaxson Dart, but we'll see. I don't think it's going to work for everybody. It'll work for some people, though. Let's see. Let's see. What other contracts could be restructured, or do you think we'll just make cuts to get back in the green? We'll definitely make some cuts as training camp happens. Players are going to win and lose certain position battles, and the Giants will cut players as a result of that. But in terms of restructures, Dexter Lawrence can be restructured to save up to $9 million. Bobby Okereke, $3.9 million. John Runyon, $4 million. I think Paulson Adebo is a very likely restructure guy at $3.5 million. And Javon Holland at $2.8 million could also end up being restructured. So there is quite a few guys who I think still could be restructured. None of them are going to give you the most significant of cap savings. But again, the Giants have technically 91 on their roster right now, and you're only afforded a maximum of 90 players on a roster. So they are going to cut a few, well, quite a few. They have to cut almost 40 players in total in order to get their roster down for the start of the regular season. So naturally, they're going to trim roster fat and they're going to free up cap space that way. But to give themselves some more breathing room for insurance money, basically, they probably will restructure either Burns again or Dexter Lawrence. Do you know if the Giants will implement the VR program that the Washington Commanders use for Jaden Daniels? It's called Cognitive and claimed it helped his progress along. I don't know if they will, but I hope that they do. Yeah, if there is VR there, I'm sure that they're going to give it a try. And they're going to at least see if it helps them. No update right now on Gabe Davis, but we will see if anything happens. And as soon as something does happen, we will report back here right on Fireside Giants. So subscribe. Colton asking, did I watch the video where Justin Pennick had an interview with Tyrone Tracy? I did not. I didn't even know that it happened, to be completely honest, but perhaps I'll check it out. Maybe. When the cut week happens after free agency, if there is someone that sneaks out from a team that the Giants might find attractive, you think we sign him? Assuming you mean after preseason. And yes, the Giants are usually active on the waiver wire, so they probably will look at the back end of the roster, say, this guy is decent, but we think this guy on the waiver wire is better, so we're going to place a claim, and then we're going to move on from our guy. We'll probably see the Giants make some waiver wire moves this season. They usually do. Trevor, for the time being, yes, they're definitely planning on keeping Singletary, but let's see how he performs in the preseason. If he's subpar, or, if they feel like Scatterbo and Tracy are so good that they don't need Singletary, there's definitely avenues for them to move on from him. So, all right, let's dive back into this main topic of conversation being the perfect environment for Jaxson Dart. And I want to say something about Jaxson Dart and his fit in the New York Giants scheme, right? Because there's been a lot of conversation surrounding Dart. Can he play in a pro-style offense? There's been question marks surrounding his ability to transition to the NFL after playing for the last 3 years in an Ole Miss offense that primarily relied on RPOs, play action, and it was just very collegiate style. Can he run a pro-style offense? So some will say that he wasn't worthy of being taken in the first round because he can't run a pro-style offense. And to that, I will say, you don't know that he can't. You just know that he hasn't yet. Just because he hasn't been asked to doesn't mean that it's something he won't be able to handle, especially when you consider the fact that he's not rushing into the starting lineup. I think this was a more valid argument to make when the Panthers selected Bryce Young first overall. Bryce Young played at Alabama, ran a very collegiate style offense, didn't have a lot of pro style concepts, immediately stepped into the starting lineup from day one, and kind of disaster ensued, right? Bryce Young did not have that kind of developmental progress that you would have liked to see. And in large part, I do believe that is because he didn't have time to grow and learn an NFL offense before being thrust into the starting lineup. With Jaxson Dart, it's completely different. He doesn't have to start week 1 of his rookie season. In fact, he probably doesn't even need to start week 10 of his rookie season. He'll have several months watching Russell Wilson, watching Jameis Winston, and watching Brian Daboll, learning from them and observing and soaking in as much information as he can while he prepares to eventually run the offense the way that they do. So that's the key differentiating thing here that I think is going to help Jaxson Dart in his growth. It's the fact that there is no rush for him to grow. No, he doesn't know how to run a pro style offense. He doesn't even know how to, have a proper cadence at the line of scrimmage. All he did in college, we all saw the John Gruden clip. That was his snap count. That's not sustainable. That's not going to work at the NFL level. We all know that. However, he's not starting next week, guys. He's not starting tomorrow. He's not even starting in September. He's probably not starting until December. So the Giants have set the situation up where, no, Jaxson Dart cannot run a pro style offense right now. But in 10 months' time, perhaps he can. Not 10 months. That's probably too long. In 4 months' time, can he run a pro style offense? Most likely. And that's why this is such a perfect environment for Jaxson Dart. JJN 300 with the super chat. Scataboo! Thank you so much for the super chat, my friend, saying, call me crazy, but I think Banks will shine as the CB2. I won't call you crazy. I will call you sane. I will call you the most sane person that there is because I fully, wholeheartedly agree with you. I think that Jaxson Dart is good. I think that Deonte Banks is going to thrive as the CB2 of the New York Giants because I am a huge fan of his game. One of the things that I always have to highlight to people who say that Deonte Banks is not good, notice that there was one thing that prevented him from having a great 2024 season. And it wasn't injuries, it wasn't effort, and it was not his ability in coverage. It was his ability to turn his head around. And the reason I say that was the one thing that held him back is because he was often right there in coverage, right there to make the play, but just didn't get his hands on the football, didn't turn his head around in time. But his coverage was airtight on a lot of those receptions that he let up. So if he's able to acquire that skill, learn how to turn his head around on time, get his hand on the football, because he's already there in coverage, we're probably seeing a guy who gets a lot of pass breakups this season at CB2. So I think this is, a season where he is set up to take a major step forward because he actually did show progress to me last season. In my opinion, Deonte Banks did. So I think that moving forward, it's going to depend on the Giants' scheme and how well Shane Bowen is able to maximize Banks. And obviously his matchups play a big part of it with who he's going to be going up against. But generally speaking, Deonte Banks, I think, is in store for a shining season at CB2. Yeah, let's not put Jaxson Dart at CB2. But JJN, thanks again for the super chat. Can I suggest we do? I already pulled that one up. Rocco saying, my two Giant sleepers from Thomas Fidoni, Evan Neal. Evan Neal. So I think this is actually a pretty good topic to talk about. We'll get back to the Jaxson Dart thing. We're going to keep going over this throughout the entirety of the episode. We'll come back to Jaxson Dart. However, I do want to bring up Evan Neal because if you didn't see it, there were some quotes dropped today by Sean O'Hara, former New York Giants center, Super Bowl champion, and an absolute legend in every way, also works in the media. Sean O'Hara had a few things to say about Evan Neal, saying that he thinks now is the time to make the transition to tackle or from tackle to guard, and that he thinks it's going to be a successful one for Evan Neal. Here's one of Sean O'Hara's quotes from the New York Post. The physical side of it, he should be fine with. He's a big, strong kid. He's as big as a house. He's got to start using that size to his advantage. Does anybody else ever feel that way? Because I think Sean O'Hara makes a great point. I feel like quite often when we were watching Evan Neal over the past 3 years, he was not playing with his size. Like he is a big, hulking, brawling man, right? At least he appears to be. When you look at him walking along in his black turtleneck with his chain, going into the stadium prior to the game, he looks like a guy that you don't want to F with. He looks like he will beat you up. He's got that mean streak, and he is just a big, hulking man. But then you see him on the football field, and he kind of gets thrown around. And it's like, where is the Hulk man? Where is the big, brawling beast that played at Alabama? I like all the B's. That was great alliteration. Pat on the back because I am a writer, so I'm proud of myself for that. Where did that go, though? Like, where has that physicality been lost? And how do we get that back? Does a transition to guard allow Evan Neal to play with more physicality? Sean O'Hara believes that it will, and so do I. Another quote from Sean O'Hara. Let me go ahead and scroll down, saying, Quote, it's harder to go from guard to tackle than tackle to guard, in my opinion. What he's got on his side is it's not a new offense he has to learn. It's not a new technique. It's the same stuff he's been working on. He's got the same O-line coach. From that standpoint, it's just reps. So if it's truly just reps and it comes down to experience, then the New York Giants need to stop pussyfooting around and have Evan Neal move to guard from day one of OTAs, right? Because what they said was that they're going to begin that transition. They're going to go ahead and see where he fits best. I don't want to see him compete at tackle anymore. Move him to guard. When OTAs begin next week, and inevitably Brian Dable and Joe Shane are questioned, and the media asks, hey, where is Evan Neal playing? Where is he practicing at OTAs? The answer that they give better be at guard, because he's already behind the eight ball. This is a contract year for him. He's a former first-round pick that hasn't done a damn thing. We need to see him start to show signs of life and progress. And the longer that you wait to have him make this transition, the more difficult it's going to be for him. So I think having him start OTAs next week at guard is the only way that you're even going to give him a fighting chance of turning things around. So I wanted to share all that. Sean O'Hara, speaking on Evan Neal, I found it to be a pretty interesting article. That was via Paul Schwartz of the New York Post, if you want to go ahead and check it out. But yeah, essentially, Evan Neal, now's the time. Do or die. Get your ass to guard, and hopefully you go ahead and make a difference. Vic Life saying, bro, where do you see a mean streak in Neal? Put me Joe Greenface with Neal, and Neal looks like a hometown preacher. Okay, fair enough. You know what? You make a good point there. But I thought at Alabama, at least he played with some physicality. And yeah, Rocco, he's a big boy. Don't have to worry about his slow feet at guard. You're right. Like, you put him into guard, and all of his weaknesses of, not being quick enough to get on the edge and, not having the agility to compete against some of these speed rushers, you eliminate that by putting him at guard. And now you're just saying, hey, you're in a phone booth, push the phone booth over. Like, that's pretty much it. So hopefully they do put him at guard. Colton saying, I'm not too familiar with OTAs. What happens there? The most of what happens at OTAs is behind the scenes. Just to preface that, because we are excited for OTAs because the team is going to practice. They're going to run 7-on-7s, 9-on-7s, and 11-on-11s. They're going to throw the ball around and, play catch, basically. They're going to do drills. It's practice. It's not training camp. They're not scrimmaging. They're not hitting. No pads are allowed on. But they're practicing in shorts and T-shirts, essentially. However, the main things that make a difference in OTAs, like the real crucial aspect of OTAs, is when they're not practicing what they're doing in the facility. And that's installing game plans and packages and going over new additions to the playbook, changes to the scheme, and adjusting the lineup and stuff like that. So like we talk about the development of Jaxson Dart, the big topic of today's live stream, that process begins at OTAs. This is where he starts to learn, oh, this is what the snap count sounds like. And looks like. This is how I'm supposed to read this coverage. This is the type of offense and scheme that we're going to be running. All of that stuff gets installed at OTAs. So it's a pretty pivotal and important period. And we'll see, some clips from OTA practices. We won't get any of those behind the scenes looks because that's private and confidential information for the Giants. But we will know at least that they are working on those things and getting everybody prepared for July when they get back together for training camp. This is a great point, Colton. Going from guard to tackle is a tough transition. Tackle to guard seems like it's a lot easier. Oregon did not run a pro-style offense, not at all. And Bo Nix, yes, is doing fine. But Bo Nix is also, being coached by Sean Payton, which helps him. And a little bit more to that. They didn't really unlock that offense last year for Bo Nix. Like, he was doing fine, but they implemented a lot of those collegiate concepts for him. Like, they didn't really fully run a Sean Payton offense for the most part. It was a pretty redacted version. And listen, some players can step in and run a pro-style offense immediately, and it's fine because they're wicked smart. Like CJ Stroud, he's known for getting the 100 on today's equivalent of the Wonderlic test, whatever the cognitive testing that they do is, and he immediately stepped in, ran a pro-style offense. It was fantastic. It's possible. You can do it. Like, some players can, but some players can't. A lot of players do struggle with it. And I think, again, just because Dart ran a very collegiate style offense, and that is a concern for people, I do think it takes him a little bit of time to transition, but he's got all the time in the world, and there's just no reason to rush it. Like with Patrick Mahomes, The Chiefs didn't have any reason to put him in the starting lineup when he was a rookie because Alex Smith took them to the playoffs. So they took their time with him. And then he stepped in year 2 and he was an MVP. Jordan Love, there was no reason to rush it because they had an MVP caliber talent in Aaron Rodgers on the roster. So when Rodgers moved on, then Jordan Love was more than ready to take over. So essentially, that's my point here with Dart. It's not that I'm afraid of him seeing the field in week 1 because I don't think he's, capable. He's capable of playing at a high level. I believe that. I just don't want to rush it. What's the point? Let him take his time. I think that you can get to a point as a quarterback where you're never going to get more ready, but you can definitely have points. I totally did not word that properly. You know what? What I'm trying to say is there is no such thing as over preparation for a quarterback, but there certainly is a noticeable difference when a quarterback is underprepared. So there's no rush to get the quarterback in there because the more that they prepare, it's not going to be detrimental to them. Being over-prepared is a good thing at the quarterback position. But if you rush it and they're underprepared, you're going to notice that, and it's going to be ugly. That's what I was trying to say. Had a couple tongue twisters today, eh? I'm figuring it out, though. Sam! Shout out to you, Sam. Thank you so much for the super chat. Scattaboo! Tony, I have a concern. Daves is the head coach who will work with Dart on an everyday occurrence. Tierney Hall. Shea Tierney is the number one answer because he is the quarterback's coach. So when the quarterbacks have their meetings and they go through their practices and drills, the quarterback's coach is there for every single one of those moments. So on the day-to-day, everyday occurrence, every second occurrence, it's Shea Tierney. But also on the everyday occurrence, offensive coordinator Mike Kafka is going to be heavily involved with this process, and so will head coach Brian Daboll. Especially, and we talked about this last night actually on Giants Collective. I did with Bad Dog and The Entertainer. It's a YouTube channel. Go check it out if you want. We talked about, somebody asked us a similar question about who's calling plays next year. And we all agreed it's probably going to be Brian Daboll. However, imagine if it's Mike Kafka. Would that reserve more time during the week for Brian Daboll to spend with Jaxson Dart? Now, I think Brian Daboll will call the plays. But if he's not calling the plays, then during the week, while Mike Kafka is installing the game plan, is coming up with the game plan, preparing to call the plays, the time and effort that Daboll would otherwise be putting into that could then be redistributed into working closely with Jaxson Dart, right? So maybe in the long run, we might expect Daboll to call the plays. But if he doesn't, I do think that we could see a situation where Kafka calls the plays and Daboll spends a lot of that one-on-one time during the week with Jaxson Dart. So keep an eye on that. That'll be a very interesting storyline to kind of follow. OTAs, when they're, simulating 7v7 football calling plays, we'll see. But especially during training camp, when they start actually calling plays in the padded practices, we'll be keeping an eye on who is calling those plays. Tiggy Skibbles doesn't want to see Brian Daboll call the plays this season. Adler, I do kind of agree with you. Paying Mike Kafka, they have him as an assistant head coach. Having him do that is definitely a little bit strange if they're not going to have him call plays. He's like kind of a redacted offensive coordinator, but paid like a head coach because he's the assistant head coach. It is a little bit strange. I definitely think that the Giants need to come up with a more defined role for him. Yeah, I do think the tight end core steps up this season. LDE, thank you for the chat, because Russell Wilson. That's going to be the reason why. I think all of the offensive playmakers are going to play better because Russell Wilson is going to elevate things from league worst quarterback play to at least average quarterback play is going to be noticeable. But on top of that, Russell Wilson historically loves to target tight ends in the passing game. And so as a result, I think that Theo Johnson is situated to take a pretty big step forward in year 2 of his career. Rocco with a great chat saying, you see that Lawrence Taylor spoke to the Giants defense today. Let's go. Yeah, I did see that. It's pretty exciting. In fact, I actually got to clip that and post that on the Fireside Giants Instagram because I know everybody else would want to see it and love it. I think that, listen, one of the things that the Giants do really well that they don't get enough credit for is keeping their former players involved. A lot of other teams have their legends come and go, and that's kind of that. The Giants, when they bring in a new rookie class, they try to expose that rookie class to the legends as much as they can, whether that's Eli, LT, so on and so forth. They want all of these guys to be inspired by the legends of the franchise's past so that they strive to be legendary themselves. And I think that's really cool and very special. Tiggy, do you and Alex have different expectations for the Giants this season? Maybe you two do an over-under with some stakes. With some stakes? What kind of stakes do you suggest, Tiggy, and everybody else in the chat? Let me hear this because I like this idea. Let's do this. What kind of stakes are we throwing in the mix here? I like to bet, so I like to gamble every now and then. I'll gamble with Alex, but I think that we have relatively similar outlooks for the Giants, but we probably differ quite a bit, honestly. Alex and I usually agree on some things, and then we kind of stray off the beaten path from one another pretty significantly. And that's why we fight so much on the channel. And that's why we've split up. Just kidding, guys. We didn't split up. Everybody keeps asking in the comment section if we split up. He's on vacation. He'll be back soon. I promise. I had to have some fun with that one. Loser has to have a picture of the other on their wall. Could you imagine I'm doing a podcast with Alex, and right here behind me is a big picture of Alex? That'd be a little creepy. I don't know, but maybe that would be kind of fun because you know what? I think that I'll win the bet because I always bet on myself. And I think we'll have Alex with a big picture of me in the background. Maybe we'll do something like this every week. Perhaps we do like a bet on the game. Alex and I bet against one another, some sort of prediction for the Giants game that week. And then the loser has to do something on the Monday morning podcast or live stream. I don't know. I'm kind of spitballing right now. Do you guys like this idea? Let me know. Give me some feedback. Rocco saying, I love when you guys go at it. When you guys are going back and forth about the whole Matt Stafford, I was rolling. Listen, we at one point did agree on Matt Stafford. It's my fault that we were fighting, okay? I had a change of heart. It's not you, Alex. It's me. I just had a change of heart on the situation. But no, I also love it. I think it's hilarious when we fight. I really do. And I also just always have to say big shout out to Alex for allowing me to argue with him. He is my boss, and he's a very good one. And there are a lot of people who are very insecure and wouldn't allow somebody who works for them to spat with them the way that he does. Alex is the GOAT, guys. You got to understand he's a very great human being. I have the utmost respect and gratitude for him. So I love fighting with him too. It's so much fun. Flip indistical pictures. I hope I said that right. Who is your favorite Italian on the roster? I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. It's Tommy DeVito, man. That was not a Tommy DeVito impression. That was a Vito Corleone impression. However, it's Tommy DeVito. I love Tommy DeVito. Who's the other Italians on the roster right now? I don't know if there are many. Thomas Fidoni, I think, is Italian. I don't think Scadaboo is, even though we love to say his name like Scadaboo. He's not Italian. I think it's got to be Tommy DeVito, man. Jay Money, thank you so much. Listen, you need some way to keep the games entertaining if our season is booty cheeks again. The over-under bet or something similar could be a fun side quest. Well, you know, Alex and I do love our side quests. So, yeah, side quests are coming. I don't know if you watch BBKL, but y'all could never argue like Paul. I don't know what BBKL is, and I don't know who Paul is, but I bet you we could argue like that. Jermaine Illuminor is Italian, and you can't convince me otherwise. What makes you say this? I thought he was... Isn't he from England? Isn't he British? I'm pretty sure he's, like, actually from England or somewhere. Pretty sure it's England, though. Sorry, guys. I had to respond to my aunt. I got to take my little kid to go see Lilo and Stitch today. Not Lilo kid, her little kid. My little cousin, my kid cousin. Bring an FSG fan on, debate Giants football. A lot of us come on as fans, get caught up. Although you're a Giants fan, you bring realism and true points. I would love to debate with fans. In fact, we are going to do that. I keep saying that we're going to do that, and I keep saying I'm going to put the plan in motion. We are going to put the plan in motion. I promise. I'm going to have you guys on here to fight with me or just talk with me. It'll happen. I promise. I want to open up to members first, and then we're going to have members on, and we'll do live streams with them, and then eventually we'll bring on just anybody in the chat. So, yeah, keep an eye out on it because it is going to happen. I just would prefer to do it with Alex because I know that a lot of our members would like to get the perspective and the ability to debate not just with me, but also with Alex. I have 3 people up here. So, waiting for him to get back from his vacation. You're right. That is the official Giants podcast, and I do know who you're talking about. Paul. Yes, Paul Dottino, I believe is his name. He's actually pretty good, though. I kind of like him. Jermaine Fettuccini Illuminor. Is his middle name Fettuccini? That's a cool name. I like Fettuccini. All right, guys. Give me some more good questions. I'm just having fun reacting to the chat right now. Yeah, Paul Dottino is cool. Colton, I did get your DM once again. I'm sorry. I've been super busy, but I will respond to you. I promise. I will respond. I promise. Also, it would be funny if you got into an argument sitting next to each other. Might see you 2 throw hands. Dude, one thing that I really want to do is more in-person content with Alex. Like, I want to be in the same room as him, talking Giants with him. Like a podcast where we are sitting next to each other. If you guys have been around the channel for a while, you'll know that we used to do that every now and then. Whenever I was in New York, we would get together and we would do a live stream or an episode together in person. But it's been a while. It's been a few years. So hopefully we're able to do that again in the near future. Messing around, but realistically, where do you think our offensive line will end up, middle or bottom of the pack? Lower middle, meaning in the 20s, I think. I don't think that we're going to be in the 30s in our ranking this year, but it's really just going to depend on Andrew Thomas, man. If Andrew Thomas gets hurt, yeah, they're going to have the worst offensive line again. If he stays healthy, I could see them being the 20th best offensive line, which is a huge improvement. If they're average this year, that offensive line, I mean, that'll change everything for the offense. Rocco saying, do you think Jermaine Illuminor will be gone after the season, given the fact that he's a solid right tackle, might demand a bigger pay rise, and maybe Marcus Bowe takes his spot? I do think it's a possibility. I think that the Giants did bring in Marcus Bowe with the idea in mind that they might need to replace Illuminor next offseason. But I do think that the Giants really like Illuminor and what he brings to the locker room and how he engages with the fans. He's got a great personality. He's a really good teammate. So I actually think that he could be an extension candidate. I think he's more likely to get extended than walk in free agency, personally. Colton, this is a great question. If Thomas goes down, I can't give you an answer as to who would take the spot, but I'll tell you these 3 players that you just mentioned will all compete in practice, and one of these 3 will be that guy who takes it. James, honestly, I have my doubts, but I think if there's ever a year, it's going to be this year because they signed Russell Wilson. So I'm not going to say never, never say never, and I'm not going to say no, but I am going to say he's got a real uphill battle, of course, with Darius Slayton in front of him. If AT stays healthy, pound for pound talent-wise, he's a top 10 offensive tackle in the league. And so if he has a really good year, Giants make the playoffs, because he stayed fully healthy this year, his chances of winning the Protector of the Year award are somewhat high, honestly. He is like the only legit talent. They have other talents on the offensive line, but he's like the only one that's like a great offensive lineman on the New York Giants. So if he has a great year and the Giants win games, there's a really good chance he could be Protector of the Year. It's kind of funny, though, and let me know if you guys agree with this. Is Protector of the Year the right term? Is that really a great way to phrase this? Because I feel as though that's going to cause people to lean more towards the pass protecting offensive linemen. But what about the big maulers who move people and are dominant run blockers? Will they be overlooked in this award because it's called Protector of the Year? Right? Like if you're Protector of the Year, we're probably talking about the best pass protector. But how does the best run blocker get awarded? Does he still get awarded with this? Do you have to be good at both? I don't know. I think it's because I think they defined it as best offensive lineman of the year, but calling it protector of the year implies that it's through pass protection. So I don't know. I thought it was a weird term to use for it, but probably the best that they could come up with, and whatever. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I have really bad OCD. Fun fact. Quinn, Giants Nation, let's ride. Oh my God. Yo, give me 2 seconds. I'm going to run to show you guys this. Just bear with me. All right, I'm back. Giants Nation, let's ride. Look, with the Fireside Giants in the background too, in the collar. How cool is that? Live on the merch store if you want one. I really like them. Super comfortable too. Smells great. That's because my detergent does, but I can't guarantee it's going to smell great if you order it from this Giants shop or the Empire Sports Media shop, but I can guarantee you it'll look great because this is a nice shirt. I like this one. I've been meaning to show this off on the channel and tell you guys that this is officially live on the website, and I have forgotten for several weeks. So Quinn, thank you very much for reminding me. If you want a New York Giants inspired, Russell Wilson inspired, Let's Ride t-shirt, no pause on that one. Go ahead and find it on the site. I'm a little out of breath. Like, I ran down the hallway to grab that shirt. I didn't want to leave you guys sitting around waiting too long. Hopefully you found it amusing. Anybody hear the sound of that train? That startled me. I'm having a time right now. It's been a crazy 3 minutes here. All right, Rocco, let's get back into the chat. Can you help me with something? How do the Eagles have $390 million in dead cap of money and that organization still operates? They have what? How is that possible? $390 million in dead cap money? What does that mean? That's like $390 million. Well, they do have $55 million in dead money right now. Do you mean like long-term in the future potentially? Because right now this season, they have a $55 million dead cap total. That's a lot of money. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody said it. Howie Roseman is just really good at what he does. Yeah, Colton said it. That's really the only answer I can come up with. Giants Nation, let's ride. Shout out to you, Will. Rocco's going to order one. Shout out to you, Rocco. Thank you. J Money. Ayo. What's up, J Money? I really don't have 4.2 speed. In fact, if you guys watched the I just ran a 4.1. I did move pretty quick. But no. I was a little embarrassed by my 40 time in the Fireside Giants Pro Day. I'm not going to lie. I used to be a lot faster than I am, but I had 2 knee injuries and I stopped running. But I just got back into it recently. So I'm going to get that 40-yard dash time down. And so next year's Fireside Giants Pro Day, I'll be a much faster version of myself. I promise. Alan with a great question, not a dumb one. There's never a dumb question in the Fireside Giants chat, just to clarify. Ask anything you want. I love to answer anything. Literally, guys, start spamming questions. Whatever you want to ask me, just ask it because you got this one-time pass. No dumb questions. All right, but anyway, Alan, thank you so much for even expressing your interest in becoming a member. If you look down beneath the video where the subscribe button is, just to the right of that, you'll see this big button that says join. Click right there, and that'll take you to become a member for the channel. And again, thank you so much for expressing an interest and being a member. The memberships really do help us out a lot. And it's one of the best ways that you can support the channel. So thank you, Alan. And if you can't find that button, the join button, try it on desktop because sometimes it doesn't show up on the phone. So you might have to go onto a computer. This would be fun if we lined up. Going to Chicago versus Giants game, Soldier Field this year. Front row seats like a boss. Shout out to you. One of my friends asked me to go to that game with him. I might go. So I might see you there. I've been invited to like at least 4 Giants games this year, and I haven't fully committed to going to any of them except for one, which I'll announce right now. Week 4, New York Giants versus Los Angeles Chargers. I am going to go to that game. If you would like to meet yours truly, world's finest, Anthony Rivardo, Fireside Giants host. If you would like to meet me, week 4, Giants versus Chargers, that's the time. I'm going to start promoting that way later in the year, but as we get closer to that game, I'm going to start promoting it on the channel, not as being a Meet Anthony, but as a Fireside Giants fan meetup. Like, let's all meet each other. We always talk in the live chat and we communicate and we are a community. Let's shake some hands. If you're of age and you are responsible, perhaps crush some brewskis together and also just talk some ball and get ready to watch a good Giants game. I'm going to go ahead and make that announcement later on, but, here's a preliminary. I'm planning on going to that game, very likely will, and very likely going to turn it into a Fireside Giants meetup. So stay tuned. Yeah, this is why. Because they add all those void years, because I'm looking at it right now, they have a $13 million cap hit for Darius Slay from a void year contract, and that is factored into their dead money. So that's why. It's the void years. The biggest statistical difference between this season and last is going to be total interceptions. The Giants didn't have any last year. Not thrown. I'm saying interceptions forced from the defense. They're going to get more this year because I think the pass rush is going to help them do that. Dumb question. If you had to fight Evan Neal to get him off the team, are you winning? Why would I want the best offensive tackle in the NFL off the team? Come on now. Seeing me jump and run from the seat was priceless. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed that. Chicago would be fun. Long-time listeners, stay low-key on the chat, though. Dope Boy, thank you so much for chatting today and also for your long-term viewership. Salute from California. Hey, I'm flying out to California 1 week from today. I can't wait. I'm super excited. Very, very much looking forward to it. But appreciate your excitement and appreciate you for tuning in. Yes, Russell Wilson will definitely be allowed to audible at the line, Miguel. He's definitely going to have the autonomy to recognize, hey, this is what's a discrepancy in the coverage versus our play call. I'm going to make that adjustment. They're absolutely going to give him that autonomy. The Giants give all their quarterbacks that ability. Even if you think back on Tyrod Taylor, if you remember that game versus the Bills where we had several attempts to score from the 1 yard line, at the end of the game, there was a moment where Tyrod Taylor killed the play, audibled into a run, and the Giants ran the ball and ultimately ran out of time. That was because they gave him the autonomy to audible. Russell Wilson will have that autonomy as well. We just hope that he makes the right decisions. Cardi, YB, shout out to you. Thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel. Really do appreciate that. It's really one of the best ways that you can support us. Really helps us out a ton. So thank you so much for your support, Cardi. It'd be really nice if Evan Neal ends up a solid guard for us. Retweet. Absolutely, it would be. Adler, no. I side on the gorilla side of this war zone. I think the gorilla beats up 100 people. I don't care if they're Giants fans. I don't care if they're regular civilians. I mean, gorillas are huge, man. You ever watch Planet of the Apes? Those are chimpanzees. There's a couple gorillas in Planet of the Apes, but I love those movies, by the way. Those are really, really good. The trilogy from a few years ago, the Matt Reeves trilogy, is really good. Make a prediction. Who will have the best and the worst regular season record this year? The worst, I think, is going to be the New Orleans Saints. That one, right off the top of my head. The best, I think, Baltimore Ravens. Ravens at the top, Saints at the bottom. That's going to be my guess. Giants somewhere in the middle. Some good questions in here. 07. 07, come on, Jaxson or Jameis or Russell or Mike. I'm not 100% sure what you're asking. Super Bowl prediction. I'm going to go with Ravens versus Detroit Lions. I think it's going to be that. That's such an interesting matchup too. Ravens, Lions. That's not two teams that, that would be a very fun one. Be a new one for sure. I hope it's not Chiefs, Eagles again. I'll probably throw up on myself in the middle of a live stream if that's the case. Frank with a great question. What time is my Bleacher Report podcast? Every Wednesday and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So tomorrow at 6 o'clock, I'll be live on the Bleacher Report app every Wednesday and every Friday. The only time that it's not Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m., I will let you all know ahead of time, either on my Twitter or on the Bleacher Report app, when it's going to be at a different time, but it's always Wednesday and Friday. If I was given the head coach reins for one day, what would I focus on? I would focus on Jaxson Dart. I would try and teach him as much as I could about football and try and get him, if I were the head coach, like if I were Brian Dable, I would try to sit with Dart for a day and just answer all of his questions. Like, what do you have that's, a fear for you as you step forward into the NFL? Like, where do you think you need to improve? How can I help you do that? That would be number one. Number two, I would focus on the defensive back's hands. Like, let's get better at turning our head around Deontay. Let's get better at securing the catch. Noob and like all these guys, I would focus on ball skills for the corners and the safeties. Have you heard anything about Liddell Betts, new running backs coach? We lost Thomas to the Saints. Liddell Betts was the running backs coach for Iowa this past season. His protege, Caleb Johnson, was drafted in the middle rounds by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Caleb Johnson broke just about every record possible for Iowa last season. So very good running back, very good coaching from Liddell Betts. He's a former player. He used to play for the Washington Commanders, then under a different team name. But yes, he is a former player, so he's a guy that I think the players are really going to get along with. But all right. We have cracked the 1 hour mark. So before I do wrap it up, I'm going to let you guys throw in some last minute buzzer beater questions. Let me know if you've got any. In order for us to compete offensively, we need a WR2. Who do we get? Can't rely on Wandale or Slayton. No asks. I think this year we're going to have to rely on Wandale and Slayton because we don't have the money to bring in anybody else. But in next offseason, I don't know who the player is going to be. But yes, I think their big splash next offseason is going to be for a secondary playmaker to pair alongside Malik Neighbors. What is my flag football team for the Olympics? I feel like speed kills. I know speed kills in flag football because I play flag football. But more than anything, what really kills in flag football more than speed is agility. Like an ability to drop your hips low and pop right back up, or to move side to side, and a field awareness to lateral. Like, flag football is a very different sport from tackle football. It truly is. Speed kills, but agility is like the number one thing. So who's the most agile player in the NFL? The most bursty? Maybe Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs would be on this team, I think. You don't really... Flag football, there's not like a lot of man coverage, so you would want some you would want some zone cover corners who have really good awareness. Surtain is really good in zone. I guess him for a defensive back. Quarterbacks, having mobility definitely helps. So a lot of people are going to go Lamar Jackson and think like that's that. But I actually think more than anything, a quarterback who can read coverages, because there are no real coverages in flag football. It's a lot of just reading spaces and zones and trying to figure out where to place the ball. Any of the NFL quarterbacks can probably do it. I'm going to be completely honest. And I think, Tyreek Hill, I don't know if he's still going to be in tip-top shape in 2028. That's 3 years from now, and he's 30 already. But whoever the fastest receiver in the league is by then, it's probably who you want out there. Just run by everybody. Ignoring my bias for the Chargers, which game this season am I most excited to watch? Well, week 4 versus the Chargers, but let me take another look at the schedule so I can ignore my bias. Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, it is week 1 versus the Commanders on the road to start the season. Because if we get that upset win, oh my God, we are going to be riding so high. For the rest of them, I'm not too thrilled about it because it looks like a really rough schedule. But really, I can't wait for that Commanders game to start the season. I think that's going to be a good one. And I'll throw another one out there, a wild card for you. Week 16 versus the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy versus the Giants. You guys know I really like McCarthy. Colton, I don't think the Giants will build a new stadium anytime soon. I think more likely they will refurbish MetLife. They will do something to create some sort of major changes, add some awnings or something. They got to do something, though. They definitely need to revamp it in some way, in my opinion. Yeah, I think Neighbors could kill it in flag football. He definitely could. I just didn't want to say a Giants player because I don't know if I want the Giants to send their players competing there because of the risk of injury, but we'll see. Odds of 3 1,000-yard players. I think they're really low. I think Neighbors obviously cracks 1,000, and I think one of the running backs goes for over 1,000 all-purpose yards. Rather than it being Slayton, I would think it's more likely that 2 running backs go for 1,000 all-purpose yards and then Neighbors, and that would be the 3. I don't think that Slayton would be the 3rd guy, though. I think he might max out around 800. Thoughts on us running a 3-4 and using Carter as off-ball early downs and coming down in obvious pass rushing situations? Adler, it's a great question. What's a 3-4? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, 3 down linemen, 4 linebackers. For those of you who do not know what the 3-4 looks like, 4-3 would be 4 down linemen and 3 off-ball linebackers. But the 3-4, I think, is honestly what the Giants run right now. I think they run more 3-4, but they run a multiple front defense, meaning they do mix and match, and they kind of move in and out of 3-4 versus 4-3, which is kind of what you're saying. So what the Giants run is kind of in line with what you're envisioning. They just, where I think they mess up is while they are multiple, I think the situations in which they go 3-4 versus 4-3, where they move into nickel and dime and they change these packages around in these formations. The problem is I just don't think Shane Bowen knows the right. I'm not going to say that. Last season, I don't think he was confident in the personnel that he had to move in and out of his multiple front defense in the right situations. So it was poor situational football more than anything. Yes, I think Carter is going to take snaps from everybody. All of the snaps that were there last year that were shared between these players, each of them are going to give up a portion of their snaps to complete the workload for Carter, in my opinion. Man, I would absolutely love to beat up the Cowboys this year. Probably 9. Probably 9. World Cup next summer, so they have to do something soon. I agree. I think they'll probably get some project underway in the 2026 offseason to just get that stadium a little bit cleaned up because listen, the World Cup fans are going to be traveling all across the country. They're going to be seeing all these different stadiums. They're going to go to SoFi and see how beautiful that place is. They're going to go to Mercedes-Benz and see how beautiful that place is. And then they're going to get to MetLife and they're going to say, this is New York. This is more New Jersey. Not to diss any of you who are from New Jersey. I'm sorry. That was a cheap shot. But I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to ultimately, a lot of the traveling international fans are going to feel a sense of disappointment when they get to MetLife after seeing all these other places. So I think the Giants need to do something. Not necessarily. It's going to depend on how much he breaks out. If he goes for 1,500 yards, yes, it stops them. But if he goes for 600 yards, it doesn't stop them. I do think Wandale will have a better season in terms of yards per catch, but I don't expect him to get as many targets because I don't think that Russell Wilson's going to check down as frequently. The rule change did not pass. But anyway, guys, we are over the hour. I did do some extra time because I like you guys so much and I really enjoy talking Giants football with you. But I am going to go ahead and, alas, end this live stream. Thank you again so much for everybody who's tuned in. We're on a pretty good hot streak here. I think we've done 4 days in a row live on the channel, which is a pretty good run. We'll probably be live again tomorrow. I'll be live twice tomorrow on Bleacher Report and Giants Collective, so make sure you guys tune into those 2 places as well. But I'll probably be live back on this channel in addition to that. So I'll do 3 streams again tomorrow, most likely, and maybe Saturday as well. Sunday, I'll probably take the day off. But we've got a good hot streak going, and thank you to everybody who's tuned into every single live stream, because some of you have. And thank you to anybody who's a first-time viewer, who's a first-time commenter. Whatever your support looks like, just know it doesn't go overlooked, and I do appreciate it. So thank you to everybody who did tune in. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you listen on Apple or Spotify, make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and go ahead and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, I'll catch you all on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants. Scatterboo!